Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Quantum Leap. I'm your host, Toyin Umesiri. Feel free to call me Coach Toyin. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you a specific sales strategy that is built on the Quantum Leap Human Design. This is a program unique to my school, Quantum Leap Academy, and I'm going to dive deeper into teaching you how to better communicate your perspective. You see, sales is actually an exchange, an energetic exchange where you transfer perspective. And this concept of perspective is, what are you seeing from where you're standing? Okay? What experience do you have? Right? And your ability to be able to help others, right, gain your perspective, right? It's that oftentimes when people communicate, they may not realize that other people may not see what you're seeing. Others may not know what you know. Others may not even understand what it is you're trying to get them to understand, unless and until you can help them gain inner perspective, such that they can see, understand, and then be moved into taking action. Because until people have insights, understanding, illumination, right, internal to them, people are not moved to take action. So as a sales professional, right, the skill you must embody is trying to really help people see what you see. Because if what you see is considered valuable and they can see it and they can understand it, then you start unlocking what I call the science of life. Okay? So I'm going to briefly explain the science of life through the Quantum Leap Human Design. So I talk about physics, chemistry, biology, because your job is to really help people, right, gain internal perspective. Because once people can see internally, then our system, right, the internal system starts propelling us to take action in a direction. So it's this concept of the physics, chemistry, and biology to the human design, where our energetics, right, quantum, it follows quantum principles. There's a physics side of us where thoughts collide, where frequencies, this concept of energetic frequencies, that you eat food, right, to extract energy. And so we take in energy, we consume it, and then we use it to do work, right? Energy is the ability to do work. Power produces energy in time. So you have to understand that for people to move, for people to take action, they must be energized, right? They must have they must be in an excited state internally that is positive for people to take positive action. So getting people into this excited state for the potential future, for the destination in which they want to pursue or go in, it's critical to unlocking feelings and emotions. Because until you excite people, right? Because excitement, internal excitement, energetics, gets people anticipating, gets people prepared for action, gets people into motion. So without energetics, without moving people energetically, without activating, right, feelings, muscular, right, when it comes to the central nervous system, without activating desire energetically, people can view information, but it doesn't move them, right? So information that moves people is one that when it's taken in, it creates an excited state internally where people look forward to what the information can unlock for them. There's also the chemistry. Okay, so getting people excited is one thing. The chemistry side of us is the storytelling side of us, where it's the reward center, the endocrine system that unlocks hormones, right, is that what will I experience when I go in this direction? Your ability to tell a story actually unlocks chemistry, right? And this chemistry, it's more of the gas, right? You can start the car, getting excitement energetically is, oh, okay, I'm ready to go. But chemistry must fund it, okay? The car must have gas, right? And so hormones releases chemical energy through our bloodstream, and it sends it to the receptors of the cells. I'm teaching you the science of humans so that when you are selling, it enhances and supports my students through sales. Is that when you understand that you can get people into the car, but they have to fund it. Consumption. The consumption process is people can get excited, but sometimes you find people go, oh, tomorrow, I like what it is you're presenting. I really want this offer. You've gotten me excited, but you know what? Next time. This is because getting excited about doing something is step one. The energy that is going to be consumed to sustain that journey that translates to money, consumption, right? You have to energize people, and they have to be ready to spend the time, energy, and resources required to arrive at that destination. So many people are excited, but excitement is one thing. Taking action and completing the transaction to the close process is where chemistry comes in. Is that people must be ready to continue to give energy, to continue to think, right, through that journey to a conclusion. And this is where storytelling comes in. It's not just to present the destination, because this is what people do with sales. Buy my product, buy my services, buy my product. Even if there's excitement, people still say why. Why is what unlocks the story that sustains, right, investment of energy in the pursuit of specific realities. So internally, our hormones, our chemistry, okay, must complete this process of not just excitement, but anticipation, and getting people into a space where, you know what, I have to have this. I'm ready to take the action, right, to acquire this desire. And I'm ready to do it now. Because when people are ready, the body has to then move. The cellular nature needs energy to complete that transaction. So that's just a high level of what I call the science of, right, human design. Quantum leap human design is the physics, energetics, the chemistry, hormones. Then the biology side of it is receptors, cellular receptors that will hold the information, that will update DNA, all of those things that makes people shift perspective and become, right, and transform. Transformation is cellular in nature. Okay, so that's at a very high level, scientific level. And so communication in of itself transfers perspective, and perspective unlocks physics, chemistry, biology within us. And then it also activates what we talk about attachment. Okay, is that we want it. We want it, we're willing to hold it, and we are ready to do what it takes to acquire it for it to be ours, right? So it's not just enough for people to see what they want. They have to have the desire to do what is required to acquire what they want to themselves, to attach. Okay? So based on that, let me start explaining some deeper insights. So in order for you to transfer perspective that unlocks physics, chemistry, biology in people, first of all, you have to do the work within yourself first. Okay? This is where internal work, inner wealth activation is required. It's a must for anyone who wants to be a sales professional, successful sales professional, is that in order for you to transfer perspective, first of all, you have to embody the story you want to transfer, because your system is also the carrier and the transmitter of stories energetically, right? So you have to get yourself to an excited state. You have to have a passion. I always say passion sells, desire buys. So the work you have to do is that you have to embody the stories you want to transfer. You have to believe that story. You have to see it. You need to have told yourself the story. You need to understand the beginning, middle, and end of the story. The story needs to move you, right? If you want to move other people. So your own emotions, your own feelings about your own story, and your own emotions about the destination is very important, because that's what you're going to transfer. This is why oftentimes what you have resolved for yourself, the power that you have unlocked within yourself, is always the easiest way to sell it to other people. Things that you have overcome, the journey you have gone on, a personalized story will move more people, because you are moved. You have been transformed, right? You have grown, you have become. And at the end of the day, you are now inviting others to go on the same journey you have gone on. That's the perfect salesperson. Is someone who has arrived at a destination that understands the journey, right? That understands how to lead other people on that journey. That person embodies the complete picture, right? The experience, the emotions, the feelings, right, of that entire story. And those are the best sales professionals, because all you then have to do is invite people, and then you share your story, right? What you've navigated, right? How you arrived, and invite people. Do you also want to go on that journey? And the reward, those personal stories are more moving, right? Because your job is to move people in the direction, and it's easier for you to move people because you have been moved. Okay? So perspective also on a topic you're an expert on, right? Because people can tell, right? Do you really know what you're saying? I want to really know if I can trust you. Because trust is a component of, do you mean what you say, and are you saying what you mean, right? Are you energetically aligned to the story you're telling, or is this somebody else's story that you're just a representative of? People want to know. So when the story is yours and you've made it yours, that unlocks energetics. But if you're telling somebody else's story, then people will say, you know what, that's somebody else's perspective. Let the owner of that perspective come and share it with us. So you need to own your own story energetically. You need to believe it. You need to embody it, meaning that it emerged from inside you, and you're bringing it into the world, and you're offering people the best of your journey. Okay? So what topics do you naturally feel like you have ownership of, that you can own, that is natural to you, that you embody? Those type of stories will attract, what I say, your kind. This concept of vibrational frequency is that the laws that of the world we live in is that you attract people who vibrate at the same frequency you're vibrating at. Like people who like what you like, right? And desire to participate in that perspective. So this concept of perspective also introduces that it must embody value. People must value what you value for them to believe what you're believing. So you are looking for people who value your value. Okay? So also, what are you seeing based on where you're standing, based on the journey you've gone on? What are you seeing of your prospects? Do you see them at the starting point, the midpoint? Do you see them getting closer? And how do you then express that to them? Because most times people are on a journey that they may not have a reference point, a frame of reference where they are to that journey. That's one of the challenges, right? People need support on, solutions on, is that many people may have been trying to achieve a goal. They may not know how close they are to their destination or how far away they are. As the expert, if you have a higher vantage point, if you have a higher view, and you're observing them, are they close? Are they further away? And your ability to serve as a guide, to say, hey, I see you. Take a left turn, take a right turn, do this, do that, right? And explain to them that you can see them and you understand their context and you understand where they are. How much longer do they need to keep going on that journey to arrive at the destination? And your ability to get them there faster, safer, enlighten them, illuminate their path, shine your light on their journey, that is value. That's you being useful to other people, to guide people, to see them, and to understand where they are on their journey. Because most people don't have that reference point. People want to start a business. They're like, how long is it really going to take for you to see you, right? Because people start out with the end in mind, but the length and duration, how long it's actually going to take to achieve your goals, that's one of the realities that many people may not really know until they are on that journey. But you as the expert, you can start unpacking that message, and that builds trust. Okay, so from which angle are you seeing them? Where are you standing? Finish line, ushering them on? Or are you standing next to them, walking side by side with them, right? So what role do you want to play? Guide, coach, motivation, keep going, keep going. Also understand that those roles are valuable, okay? And so when you have a roadmap, I love to design roadmaps so that people have reference points to where they're going, okay? So your ability to also design some form of roadmap, okay? Are you at the start? Are you at the middle? Are you at the end? What's the conclusion, right? Your destination, and your ability to keep messaging. You know, when we talk about customer journey maps, keep sending signals, right? Information at different intervals of that journey, right? That's how you move people from the start to the middle to the end, okay? And your ability to say who, what, where, when, how, why. These are realities that unpack stories, but the incredible thing is that every of those also infuses energetics and chemistry. Is that when people know who, when they know what, when they know where, when, how, why, our biology is activated. Is that we get really moved to take immediate action when we have the full story, okay? And we have convinced ourselves that we want to invest the energy and we want to see the end of the story, we want to go on that journey, then everything, we are fully activated, we're in motion, we're making moves, and we're excited. Okay? So this framework requires you to have done a lot of deep research on your customers, right? This is why customer research, I always ask, I have this framework I call, how well do you know your customers? Is that you may know yourself, fantastic, your journey, yes. However, your ability to research and gain deep insights into your customer's viewpoint also is extremely valuable. So when you see what they're seeing from their viewpoint, you then can design, okay, this is the perspective I want to unpack for you. If you stand where I stand, which is the finish line, you're going to experience this reality. You're going to feel accomplished. You're going to be successful. You're going to achieve this. Okay, so don't give up. And these are the tools you need for that journey. Your ability to say, okay, in order for you to arrive here, you're going to need this. You're going to need that. You're going to need to do this. Okay? That's also part of the messaging of sharing perspective, because many people may not know what they need to pack for their journey. They know what they desire. Well, But desire leads you on a journey, but that journey needs tools, it needs time, it needs energy, it needs tools, it needs investment. And one of the challenges I always try to encourage first-time entrepreneurs, particularly those transitioning from corporate to entrepreneurship. People hold their dreams, people hold their desire, but I also say, make sure you invest in knowledge, you develop skills, you engage with the right people, you gain the right perspective, so that when you go on that journey, you've set yourself up for success, right? If you're going to go on an expedition and you want to climb a mountain or go, right? You're not just going to say, okay, I'm going to the mountain. Well, have you packed your gears? What do you need for that journey? This is one of the things I try to encourage people. You're going to need knowledge. You're going to need skills. You're going to need knowledge in these areas. You're going to need these tools. You're going to need to do this, do that. That's what I believe that many people may not consider, particularly in the business development world. One of the things you also need to do when I teach inner wealth activation is that you have to expand your inner capacity to hold bigger wealth. Your thoughts, your beliefs, right, must expand. Your behaviors must shift. You actually have to go through inner transformation to become someone that owns a business. To go from an employee to entrepreneurship requires transformation. And so those are some of the messaging that many people need to understand so that they are kinder to themselves, that they are more patient, they are more calm versus, what people call hustle culture. Listen, that's not healthy. I personally, when I teach, I teach calm, cool, and collected, meaning that having served the biggest company in the world, Fortune 1, as a strategist, what I do is I unpack big business strategies and I bring it in tangible ways that even startups and new entrepreneurs or small businesses can still unpack this higher level business intelligence to grow their business, right? So that's one of the things I try to do is I've served Fortune 1, right? As a strategist, I serve on the board of a public company. So there's a very, very, at the highest levels of business, I design strategy. But in serving small businesses, startups, what I try to do is gain richer perspective. So I'm offering you my perspective. This is an example. I'm offering you a perspective based on having worked for the biggest companies in the world and having and currently serving on board of public companies. And I'm bringing that insight and saying, I want you to think like this, have this viewpoint, be generous with yourself. This is a long game. Pack enough skills, right? Work on your inner self, gain perspective. So that's what I'm literally doing as well, is when I see people hustling, I'm like, listen, take care of your health, right? Value your health, right? So those type of messaging is what I unpack in my school. Very practical, very, very grounded, very results-oriented, so that people can embark on the business journey with more knowledge and internal power, with clarity and focus, and understanding the journey they have to go on. That's why I also created the roadmap to business growth and success. So from startup to actualization of a business, I've mapped it out in my school and I say, okay, here you go. Where are you on this journey? These are the tools you need, right? Your sales strategy, your marketing plan, your branding plan, right? Mapped out for my students. So also consider doing that in your communication strategy as well. You want people to see what you see, and you also want people to trust you based on your voice and your vantage point. And so your ability to start communicating, what experience do you have, right, that is allowing you to see the world the way you're seeing the world? What journey have you gone on that gives you the perspective that they must hold valuable within themselves? Okay? So you want to explain the perspective. What can you see that they cannot see? I also talk about blind spot, customer blind spot. Your ability to also share with them what they need to consider that they've not considered, creating this haha moment. Okay, wow, I didn't realize that, but I know now the way you've explained it that I needed that information. Let that be infused into your content strategy as well. So you also want to talk about within your stories, your listeners would always compare your story to their own current reality. So how do you bridge the gap? Okay, from where they are to where you are saying, okay, you're standing. I call it the tales of two cities. Where your prospects are, that's their context, and you have your own perspective, but you have to bridge it. Many people may not have the faith to take a leap. So that's why also your story can be step by step, by step, by step, because not everybody has the leap to jump massively, right? So the context of who you're working with as well, you may have to give them step 1, step 2, step 3, and as they go on those steps, they gain confidence, right? So engaging them in activities, step 1, step 2, because oftentimes we want to get them to leap, which is quantum leap, right? But people may not have that built-in courage, but you can help them grow it. I guess that's the goal, is to help people grow the courage, because at the final mile, they still have to take a really huge leap, right? Business is a leap. And so teaching people how to trust themselves, how to take steps of faith and see tangible results and keep taking it. In of that process, there's transformation. They become more courageous, they become happier, they become more fulfilled, and that journey becomes more exciting as well. So transaction, as I'm wrapping up now, the sales transaction, I want you to continue to consider it as a transformation, a shift of perspective, how you want people to see themselves, to see their journey, and your ability to paint a story of a destination that you are able to guide them, lead them on. I want to thank you so much for joining today's episode. I have tools if you're interested in advanced tools, quantum leap human design tools, spiritual psychology, emotional intelligence. You can access them in my school, Toyin, Umesiri.academy. I want to thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you again next week. Bye for now.